Now we're going to put the lesson that we have learned today to good use by creating a web page, just purely with using HTML. We will create a simple, some sort of a biography web page for Tony Stark. So if you don't know who Tony Stark is, Tony Stark is a fictitious character in the comic books, or more specifically, Marvel Comics. Is also called the Iron Man. So I already have an audio file in the audio folder, which I'm going to include into the web page. So let's start with creating a HTML file called tonystark.html. So we can do that by clicking the new file here and give it a name. Okay, so I'm going to use the HTML boilerplate for this. Okay, let's change the title to Tony Stark. So I'm going to turn on web wrap so that we can see everything in one single pane. And I'm going to go live. Okay. Now let's create the header for the Tony Stark's name and contact me link. Okay. So I'm going to use a H1. So I'm going to use the URL to contain the link, but I'm going to house them into a navigation element tag. So I'm going to create a navigation element tag first. Then I'm going to create a URL, another list. Inside there, I'm just going to create one list item, and it's going to be a link. Okay, this link is going to link to another web page called contact me.html, which is going to sit in the same folder. We're gonna create a contact me.html at the end of this after we create this particular page, so that you know that I can show you how the link is actually working. Okay, after the header, I will create a picture or image of Tony Stark, as well as an audio file of him. In order to separate the header from the rest of the body, I am going to create a horizontal line. Okay, before we move on, I think I'll save and show you how it will look like. I forgot the name for the link, so we should put the link called contact me. Okay, this looks better. Okay, so I will include the image file first, then I'll include the audio file. So I'm going to house them into a div tag. So I'm going to create image file. So the source of the file, actually I found this on the internet, so I'm going to paste the I'm going to paste the IP address, the address of the file. It's pretty long. So on these alternates, on the description side, I just put start picture. Okay, let's save again. As you can see, picture is too big, so I'm going to adjust it using the width and height attribute. So the width I'm going to put at 150, height is going to be 200. Let's say looks much better. So next, as I said, we're going to create an audio file. So audio, the source is actually located in the audio folder. So you just have to put audio slash. Let's click on this. And in order to let it show up on the screen that you can play it, we have to put controls, right? So let's say, as you can see, we have an audio file.
I am Iron Man.
But I don't want the audio file to be side by side with the image. I am going to push it to below. So in order to do this, we need to do a line break, which is up here. And let's save this. There you are. Let's push down. So next, I'm going to create a simple profile for Tony Stark. First, I will create another horizontal line to separate the image and audio file from the profile. So horizontal line. So again, I'm going to house them in a div container. Okay. After this, I'm going to create a H3 heading called profile, and I'm going to use an unordered list to list Stark's positions, date of birth, and etc. Okay, so I'm going to create H3. So I'm going to call it profile. In the underneath H3, I'm going to create an order list. And the order list, I'm going to create 3 item list. It's a CO of oops. It's also the is born on 8/29/970. Okay, let's save this and see how it will turn out to be. Well, exactly what we expected, a profile with an order list. Okay, next I will create a movie table that Iron Man or Tony Stark has participated in. So let's again separate this part by a horizontal line. Okay, let's create the table. So let's create a table element. So let's put in the table head. Let's create a row to house the table header. So I'm going to create 2 table header. One is for year, and one is for the movie title. Okay, next, create table body. This way we're going to enter our data. So let's start with first row. First movie is 2010. Oops. Next row. 2012. Okay, let's see how it looks like. Great, table is created. So I'm going to cheat here. I already done the rest of the entry, so I'm going to paste over here. So let's see how it looks like. Great, we completed the table. Now before we move on to the next part that we want to create in this web page, I'm going to show you attribute on the table that you can actually make the table more readable. So the attribute is called cell spacing. Now you will realize that when I type cell spacing, there is no automatic suggestion of completion. The main reason why is because this cell spacing is going to be deprecated. That means it's not going to be used very soon by any of the browsers. So that's why it's not as part of the suggestion made by VS Code. So cell spacing basically allow you to put spacing, or we call it a padding around the cell. So let's say if we put 20, and let me say, as you can see now, 2010 and the Becoming Iron Man was very close. Now if I'm going to put cell spacing of 20, let's save it, and you notice that there is a spacing around every single cell. So this was cell spacing rule. But as I said, majority of the table that you will see on the web, in the internet, is actually the styling is actually done by CSS, and no more using an attribute in the table. Alright, so we have successfully created the table. Again, I'm going to create a horizontal line here, so that we'll go to the next part, which is creating a form. Let's create the input form. I'm going to create an email input as well as a text input. Now, in the earlier portion of form, I always said that you always use label to use it to label the input, so that the visitor, the user, know what is that particular input. You don't have to do that actually all the time. You can actually bend the rule as you go on. Like for instance, I'm going to show you how you don't have to do that. So I'm going to use heading 3 instead of label. Okay, so input is this. Yeah. So I'm going to create a text input. And I'm going to use a text area. Okay, I'm going to leave the text area setting for the columns and rows as it is. Okay, let's save and see how it looks like. So yeah, so we have an email, which you can type your email over here, as well as your messages. So last thing on the form is actually a submit button. So let's do a submit button. Okay, the submit button appear next to the feedback text area, which I don't want it to be that way. I want it to be at the bottom of the text area. So what I will do is I'll just create a line break. So let's save. As you can see now, it's actually at the bottom of the text area. Great. I'm going to create another horizontal line again to separate this portion. Lastly, I'm going to create a footer. So inside the footer, I'm going to make an external link to the Wikipedia page. Okay, let's save and see how it goes. So we have Wikipedia asset. So if we click on this Wikipedia is linked actually to Tony Stark. So it should bring you back to Tony Stark. Okay, so we have just successfully created an HTML file using Tony Stark. I don't know whether we call it biography as an example. As you can see here, I have actually created a new HTML file called contactme.html. So I use the boilerplate to create the basic starting code, and I've changed the title to contact me. Okay, let's start creating the address. So I'm going to introduce to you a new element called address. So we're going to put address the contact address inside the address element. So I'm going to create the building's name. Let's say I'm going to use heading label 2. Okay, I'm going to house the rest of the address in a paragraph tag. And I want to have a new line to separate each line of the address. Okay, let's see how it looks like. Okay, I have already a contact me open here. Okay, not bad. So we are going to create, lastly, a contact number. Let's save. Great. So this is the contact me HTML that I want to create. Now let's go back to the main page, the Tony Stark page, and see if we can link to this contact me. Great. It works exactly what we wanted it to work. So this ends our demo session for this part on HTML.